Good evening, everybody. My name is Dave Body. I'm with We Can Rise Up here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I'm submitting this video this evening to talk about my dealings with depression and suicide. It all started from years of my bullying and years of my consistent dealings with negative responses and statements from my fellow peers, which beat me down emotionally and later on physically. However, where my depression really kicked in was started in January 2006. While I was active in my professional wrestling career, my dream, I was severely assaulted by two intoxicated males, one with a shovel and one with a glass mug. I sustained a couple of shots to the head, in the back of my head, with a shovel, which resulted in a serious concussion. I had to get minor surgery in my upper lip, right about in this region, due to the glass mug shot. Well, before this incident, I had 11 concussions with relevance to security and football, and some at-home accidents. However, this concussion at the time didn't really feel severe. However, later on in my life, it proved it would eventually become the significant concussion in my life. What happened was, when I sustained this concussion, it affected the part of my brain that allows me the reassurance to control my emotions and to deal with my emotions efficiently. It also affected the vision portion of my brain, and I didn't realize it, within the first 2 weeks. It progressed. Like, I would experience memory loss issues. I experienced emotional outbursts with the inability to control or to positively react during my anger moment, I guess you can say. It got to the point where I was very irritable with dealing with my arthritis, my right shoulder, and my previous concussions. It grew to the point where anything set me off at any time, and no matter how happy I was easily brought right back down. Now, with this concussion, like I said, I had to retire from professional wrestling. I had to make that. It was a Facebook message. I didn't really have my trainer's personal number, so I sent a message on Facebook detailing exactly as to what happened and what is going to happen. It was the hardest decision of my life because I knew I wanted to be a professional wrestler from the age of 4 years old. I grew up in the industry. I grew up around the Harts, around Owen Hart, Bret Hart, Stu Hart, and some of the others, Smith. I grew up around British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. I grew up in the industry, so I knew from the get-go that's what I wanted to do. And the fact that I did it for 2 years, the fact that I sustained 2 concussions while doing professional wrestling, it gave me that sentimental value to the dream where I did not want to stop. I wanted to just keep going forward. I wanted just to keep at it and not give up. I have a lot of pride. People who know me can say that and they can confirm it. I don't like to give up. I don't like to admit to my weaknesses or my doubts. I keep it all in. So making that decision to retire and to quit chasing that dream, it sent me down fast. January 22nd, 2006 was the night of my concussion. I guess you can say it was a birthday beat because it was my birthday at the time. I made a decision, I believe, the following Monday is when I informed my trainer, who is now with WWE, as known as Tyson Kidd, which is what sent me to my depression. When I found out that Tyson Kidd, aka his real name TJ Wilson, got signed with WWE and he was moving forward, the fact that I saw the success that people I was training with were getting, it made me not really regret, but resent the fact that I had to quit. I began my depression probably a month and a half after I retired. It was hitting me hard. Before I sustained this concussion, I put down a $500 deposit for the Lance Storm Academy, which I lost because as soon as you get a $500 deposit, it's to guarantee your spot into the class. And being I suffered this concussion, I had to quit that too. So I lost my chance being trained by one of the all-time greats in my mind, Lance Storm, which is when I realized that it was not going to get better, it was going to get worse. I started to get very depressed, both the emotional depression and the physical depression. I found out that my shoulder was killing me a lot more. I was in a lot more pain with neck injuries that I suffered in wrestling. it wasn't a good time. It wasn't long until suicidal tendencies began to creep in. This was probably about 2 months after my retirement that I started to have very dark but very vivid thoughts and ideas to suicide. And at this time, I was very fortunate to have close friends that would listen to me. And one of them, her and I met in the food court at Marlborough Mall, where I expressed my current mental state and what I was going through. And the fact that she took the time out of her time, or her personal life, to help me out, kind of gave me that positive influence to look at my life differently and try to find a new perspective on life, which I did. I realized I really was enjoying my security career at the same time. I realized that I was enjoying the thought of one day becoming a police officer for Calgary. So I started pursuing that dream. I closed the door on professional wrestling, so I thought, and started pursuing my police career. However, I found myself weekly, monthly, and still sometimes yearly thinking about joining back in wrestling and going after it again, even though I know it's not a logical nor a realistic goal to set. So I started pursuing my police career. Now, I have a total of 15 concussions. 15. I'm only 26 years old. So, I didn't really conquer my depression. I put it to the side for a little bit. I was still deep down inside missing wrestling. Still had nights where, I'm not going to lie, I teared up. I thought about it a lot, missed it. And there's times currently where I still think about it quite often. When I watch it on television, when I play the games with my son. Anything to do with wrestling, I'm there. I'll watch it, I'll play it, I'll read about it. It's still in me. I'm not going to lie, it's still a passion of mine. But policing at the time was what seemed to be a really logical and feasible decision to go after, considering I was just engaged. At this time, my wife was pregnant, so I had a lot of current happenings that would be a huge factor in the long run that I had to consider now. So I started pursuing my police career. I started working security more at one of the malls, which is the most criminally active mall in the city. And being that was the case, I was vulnerable to more concussions. And with every concussion I got, I had the same exact symptoms: memory loss, cognitive issues, vision issues, and emotional instability. I would find myself irritable back and forth, and I sustained one concussion average per year after 2006. In 2009, March 21st, 2009, I was working a Trooper concert at Stampede Casino. Suffered a severe concussion there, which ended my security career for about 4 months. I was placed into a surveillance room, which was not my cup of tea. It's not my personality. I'm the type of guy that likes to be on the forefront, on the line, working with my crew. This concussion, it was pretty good. It took about 4 months to heal. I had what's known as PCS, which is post-concussion syndrome. I had my symptoms for 4 months, which was very uncomfortable. I couldn't sleep, had nightmares, had night terrors even, memory loss, the inability to focus, which led to me getting fired from Stampede Casino because I wasn't showing I had the focus that they required for that position, so they let me go 9 days before my wedding, to be exact, which wasn't really reassuring. However, I got past that. So that didn't really put me into a depression. However, it didn't really sit too well with me, knowing that I had to eventually make the decision to retire from security as well, which would mean I would lose my policing dream. That was a hard pill to swallow, so I worked for 4 months in a surveillance room at Stampede Casino, got fired, then I went to another casino known as Silver Dollar, which is now known as Century Casino here in Calgary. I was there for about 9 months. While doing that, I was a part-time loss prevention officer with Sears Marlborough. Did that for a while, got promoted to the manager there. Didn't get a concussion while working there, nor did I get a concussion working at Century Casino. However, my symptoms were extremely powerful and very, very clear. I would find myself sitting at work and just all of a sudden have a severe headache and all of a sudden be dizzy. And I found this to happen when I was looking at paper that had a lot of numbers, shapes, colors, a variety of of all those put together. Anything that's like relevant to a map or a graph or a lot of reading material, I found I could not focus. I would try to look at it, try to comprehend what I was reading, and I'd get dizzy and I just couldn't focus. Kind of concerned me, but I didn't really think into it too much, considering I have ADD, which I was diagnosed in grade 7. However, the headaches got worse, the dizziness got extremely powerful. I would find myself dizzy when I stand up too fast, which is generally common with all of us. However, with me, my dizziness wouldn't fade away or completely deplete until roughly a minute to 2 minutes in, which isn't average. Usually it's about 10 seconds. An average person can fight that dizziness when you stand up too fast. So that was concerning. I found myself more emotionally insufficient. I can control nothing. I would just become irritable. Then I quit Sears and went on to Chinook Mall. I was there for about 6 months. My second last shift, we got into an altercation, which I sadly sustained to my 15th concussion. This concussion, I consider was the worst. With this concussion, I had a severely sprained left ankle. I had some internal bruising down my neck, and I was in a splint and a back brace a stretcher for the whole 12 hours of my duration at the hospital. I couldn't walk well, I couldn't see, I couldn't think. At times I couldn't talk. It was brutal. At this time I was going through a lot of other personal issues, which didn't really help my depression, which was, like I said, a side effect to all my concussions. Being all the other stuff that was going on in my life, at this time, it made me even more vulnerable to depression. I found myself with suicidal tendencies really quick after this concussion, very quick. I will say, to be accurate with you, 5 days after my concussion. I got my concussion on the 12th. The 17th was when I hit hard depression. I was suicidal from March till June. And when you have the ability to sit down and in detail and with vivid images and thoughts on how to end your life, you are in the darkest place that you could ever be, the lowest. It's when you officially hit rock bottom. Because if you can actually contemplate ending your life and feel okay with it, and feel reassured that's the best decision going on, you gotta seek help. And thankfully, WCB, Workers' Compensation Board of Alberta, noticed that these instances were happening quite often with every concussion. They decided to send me to rehab. I went to rehab for 5 months, and within that rehab period, I had occupational therapists, vocational therapists, physical therapists, psychologists. I had therapists for every element in my life to help me out, which was great. It felt good to finally understand what I was going through, because I'm not going to lie to you, for 5 years, I thought it was me. I thought it was me becoming who I did not want to become, which was an aggressive, confrontational person. To find out that my 2006 concussion was my downward spiral, it was the nail to the coffin, I guess if you will, of my depression. To find out that all of my emotional inabilities and all of my aggressive moments were with relevance to my concussions and the impact it made on my brain was very reassuring. I was happy, but I was also fearful of what was being said to me. When I had my first assessment with the psychologist and the director of CNS, which was Community Neuro Rehab Services, she informed me I was definitely suffering from severe depression and suicide, and all the symptoms I was stating earlier, emotional inability and cognitive issues and vision issues. She confirmed all this, which is why I scheduled all these therapists. I had a total of 7 different therapists dealing with me and helping me out. It was amazing. I learned from this experience that sometimes it hurts to ask for help, but it needs to be done. And the fact that I didn't even have to ask for it, I got sent to it and I got the help I needed, was phenomenal. I sit here today talking to each and every one of you, knowing that I survived my depression and my suicide, and there's 2 reasons why I did that. One, I realized how valuable I am to this world, as to how valuable I am to my family, to my friends, to the fact that I know that I have a reason to be confident. I have a reason to smile and be happy knowing that I'm here for a reason. I have self-confidence now. I have self-respect, which is the most important thing for you to live a happy lifestyle. You have to respect yourself. And for 5 years, I didn't. I was scared of myself. I did not know when I was going to break out in an anger outburst. I did not know when I was going to forget stuff or if I was going to ever remember stuff. It was awesome. And the second reason was my son. When you have children, it changes you. It gives you the ability to actually focus on the longevity of your life, to focus on the future. My son saved me. I will say it to you right now. My son saved me. Now, at the end of my rehab, towards the end of my rehab, I think it was about 3 to 4 hours released from my contract, I guess you can say, with CNS. I was told that unfortunately I will have permanent issues with my concussion syndrome, which is cognitive and vision. Basically what happens is, with my ADD already, and now my cognitive issue, if you throw out a lot of information at me at once, I won't comprehend all of it. I'll maybe catch little tidbits of it and have to be firmly reminded over and over again, which is very stressful. Every day I gotta deal with this at work. Anywhere I go, pay bills, doesn't matter. Every aspect of my life, I gotta deal with this now, which is stressful. It's very frustrating, but I deal with it. The second issue is my vision. Basically what happens is when your eyes see something, they process it, which sends a message to your brain. That portion that is receiving the message from my vision of my brain is affected. Basically what happens is if I'm focusing on too much at once, I can't comprehend it all and process it, so it just makes makes my mind work too hard at once, and I just can't focus. That's why if I look at a map or a graph, my reaction time to process that is very slow. So I gotta deal with that every single day. And it brings me to my next point, which is you only have one body. You have one brain and one of each of your important organs that you gotta consider taking care of your whole life. You gotta take care of yourself first. I didn't. I suffered all my concussions, which were all preventable, but I refused to take the appropriate relaxation or rest period for each of those concussions. I was averagely given minimum 3 to 4 weeks off work. I would go back within a week or two. With relevance to my shoulder, I dislocated it over 300 times in 1 year because I was stubborn. I dislocated it once, grabbing my sister's 8-ounce bottle. I refused until I got surgery. So now I gotta deal with permanent arthritis and tendonitis in my right shoulder. I have 4 neck whiplash injuries, 2 times with relevance to security incidents, and 2 times with relevance to my professional wrestling career. I didn't deal with them. My first ever whiplash injury was in 2006. No, sorry, 2004. 2004. It was in 2004. I landed on my neck extremely wrong during a bump, and I had no ability to control my neck for a minimum of 3 to 4 days. I would hold it up and it would just fall. 4 days. I didn't look into it. Whatever, no big deal. I thought it was fine. Not no more. I got 4 injuries now on my neck. I have a lower lumbar strain in my lower back that happened during an assault at Marlboro Mall. I looked and didn't take it seriously. Now I have issues with my back if I bend over or get up too fast. You gotta focus on your health. I had a spleen, my spleen inflamed by 13 inches due to stress. I didn't take care of it. So as of right now, my spleen could still be inflamed. I don't know. I haven't got investigated since my initial assessment where they actually said it. I had a 13-inch inflamed spleen. I regret those decisions. Everyone says to live a life without regrets. I don't believe in that. I believe those regrets help you to avoid making those mistakes again. I regret not taking care of my health. I regret it. And being that I regret it, I promise to forcefully deal with those health issues as they arise. I deal with it now because I've learned 15 concussions, permanent brain injury. I deal with it. I just want you all to know and focus on that. You get one life, one body. Don't poison it to take care of it. Because you got to understand, your brain is developing till the age of 25. 25 years old, your brain is still developing at the age of 25. Right? You've got to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else. And that is how I dealt with my depression and suicide. Today, it takes a lot and I mean a lot, that stress me out. There's two types of stresses that people can, respond to. There's what's known as the productive stress, then there's the counterproductive stress. Productive stress is stress that you face every single day, and how you deal with it is you use that stress as motivation to get that job done, to deal with the issue. Counterproductive stress is stress that you have that isn't really important. However, you allow it to take over your life. You don't deal with it. You find different means to deal with it, like alcohol abuse, narcotic abuse, gang life. You find other ways to not deal with it efficiently and properly, so that way it's counterproductive to your lifestyle. It just keeps reappearing. That stress keeps coming up. You gotta learn to focus on being productive and dealing with the productive stress, because it's the most important stress. Stuff, for examples of productive stress is health, financial, family. Anything that's detrimental to your life, that's important stress. You gotta deal with it, and instead of getting angry and getting no motivation to take care of it, you gotta find it and deal with it. You gotta deal with it, because if you don't, it's just gonna keep coming up, and that's when it starts becoming counterproductive stress. Counterproductive stress is like work. People sometimes bring work with them home. I did it a lot. There's some days where I still do. However, when I was doing security for 7 years, I brought it home with me every single night, and it's somewhat understandable considering some of the stuff I dealt with. I dealt with gangs, I dealt with prostitutes, I dealt with fights, I dealt with medical emergencies. I've been tested for HIV and Hep C once. I've been spat on. I've had people bleed on me. I had someone defecate and urinate on me. I had a cell phone thrown at me. I've been assaulted. So during those incidents, I brought them home with me, which is kind of understandable, but at the same time, it's not good for your family. It's not productive. You gotta focus on that. And that is how I figured it out. To get over my depression and my suicide, I had to focus on the productive stress and just deal with it. I had to stop making excuses. I had to stop blaming the world. I had to own up to my responsibilities, what I do wrong. You can't blame anybody else for losing your anger. You can't. It's on you. It's your onus to keep control of your anger. And I will admit it, for 5 years I had anger issues. I regret it. And I sit here today telling you that you can get over it, that you can rise up, that depression is a part of life. It happens to each and every one of us. No one can go through a whole life from the day that they're born to the day that they're deceased and not deal with depression once. Everyone goes through it. However, everyone reacts to it differently, everyone grieves through it differently. However, we all need the same result, and that's to rise up. I'm telling you this, we can rise up. I'm here to help. My first my first speaking appearance is this Friday, the 24th. I'm here. I rose up, and I'm always here to help people to figure out ways, to give them tips, to give them solutions, to give them the insight and the hope that you can get over depression and suicide and your addiction issues, known as, with relevance to alcohol or narcotics. No matter what the issue is, you can get through it. Together we can rise up. Thank you and have a good day.